Hello everyone, this is Nathan here. So in this video, we'll be discussing the important truth is that King Saul was saved. Now, there are a lot of false Christians in this world today who teach that a Christian who lives in sin will lose his salvation, or that a Christian who doesn't obey God's commandments will lose his salvation. I'm here to tell you that this is all false, and that the Bible does indeed contain examples of believers who behaved badly, but still were saved. And King Saul is one of them. He is a very good example of a believer who lived poorly, but he still was saved. Now, in the context of this chapter, of course, we understand that we understand that as of chapter 15, right? As of chapter 15, the Lord decided that he, in verse 11 says, the Lord says, "It repenteth me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he has turned back from following me and hath not performed my commandments." And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto the Lord all night. So, so the Bible is very clear that that the Lord chose to reject Saul as the king of Israel, right? And in verse 23, Samuel says, "Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king." So we all know in 1 Samuel chapter 15, because of Saul's disobedience to God, he was rejected from being king. And now, of course, this gives us a good context into chapter 28. Now, what happens as of chapter 28? So Israel goes to war with the Philistines, right? And so, and when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. So at this point, Saul is not in a good place, right? Saul is not in a good place with the Lord. The Lord is not pleased with Saul. And then when Saul tried inquiring of the Lord, what does the Lord do? The Lord just ignores him. And then what does he do? The famous story in which he seeks the witch of Endor, and through her, he brings up Samuel, and now he brings up Samuel. So the important thing is, of course, and again, Samuel rebukes King Saul. He rebukes King, and now, so now Saul, tells Samuel what everything that happened. The Philistines are making war against Israel. The Lord refuses to answer Saul's prayers, and now Saul, in desperation, he consults Samuel. This is the sin of witchcraft. Now, what does Samuel do? He rebukes King Saul for his disobedience towards the Lord, and he informs Saul that Israel will be delivered into the hands of Philistines. But most importantly, he says this, "And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines." This is the most important, okay? This is the most important because now Samuel does two things here. He rebukes Saul for his disobedience towards the Lord and prophesies that the following day Israel will be delivered into the hands of the Philistines. And also he prophesies the following day that Saul and his sons would be with him. "And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me." This is what's the most important thing. This shows us that King Saul, despite the way he lived, despite his disobedience towards God's commandments, God punished him severely on earth. God took away his kingship. God took away his kingdom. God took away his rule. God shortened his lifespan. However, Saul was still saved because Samuel said, "And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me." Be with me. There's only one explanation for this. Saul went to paradise to be with Samuel together. And we all know that Samuel, he was a good man, he was a godly man, but at the same time he was only human. He's not omnipresent. So the fact that Saul and his sons would be together with Samuel the following day, that only meant one thing. Saul went to paradise. Saul was indeed saved. He went to paradise. Now, he didn't go to heaven right away because I made another video about the compartments of hell. Old Testament saints went to paradise. They didn't go to heaven right away. So all this just goes to show that King Saul was indeed saved. King Saul was indeed saved. Despite his unrighteous living, the way he lived, King Saul was indeed saved. So this puts an end to the common myths that, oh, all Christians have live godly lives, live well for the Lord. Now, granted, all Christians will show fruit, right, of their faith, right? Now, and even when Saul was in a very bad state, was not getting along with the Lord, was displeased with Saul and refused to answer Saul's prayers. We see that Saul still tried consulting the Lord. He still tried praying to the Lord. This just goes to show that Saul, despite his disobedience, he was still a believer. Still showed evidence of faith, and he was indeed. He still was a saved man. Thank you, and God bless.